The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities that some consider to be unnatural. These were the words spoken by Lord Sidious, and what true they were. The Sith Lords were obsessed with power, doing whatever they could to achieve it. Some went to extreme lengths to test the limits of the Force itself. So travelers young and old, stick with us today as we delve into the pages of Star Wars Legends and bring you the top 5 strangest powers of the dark side. Before we get into it, it is worth noting that this list isn't particularly about the strongest Sith powers, just the strangest. I would also like to warn you that there are spoilers ahead for the Darth Bane book trilogy, so if you have not read the series, be aware that we will be making references to key events of that story in this video. So let's go ahead and talk about the top 5 strangest Sith abilities in Star Wars lore. Starting with number 5, Sith Sorcery. While Sith Sorcery may not be an individual power so much as it is a skill set, it's worth mentioning all on its own. In Star Wars Legends, Sith Sorcery wasn't something that could be inherently learned, it was a talent you had to be born with. Those with the aptitude for Sith Sorcery could weave the dark side in such a way that they would be able to cast terrible spells. One such sorceress we know about is Darth Zana, the apprentice to Darth Bane. In the Legends novel Darth Bane, The Rule of Two, and its sequel Dynasty of Evil, we are treated to some of Zana's sorcery. In one instance, she cast a spell on the minds of a group of enemies that temporarily made them see horrors unknown. Monsters and beasts that could only exist in the vestiges of their worst nightmare. The victims were driven mad by fear and scratched out their own eyes to make the torment stop. On another occasion, in a fight with Darth Bane himself, she revealed her true power and cast a spell that created many darkside tentacles that would lash out and attack at her mental command. A single touch from any of these tentacles burned and seared the flesh of her opponent, causing immense pain and damage on the site of contact. Another Sith sorceress by the name of Belia Darzu used a combination of Sith sorcery and Sith alchemy to modify living creatures, merging them with technology and turning them into horrific abominations of cybernetic undead called techno beasts. This was done by infecting them with a technovirus and then using a technique called Merchu Duru, which would make the creatures grow metallic tumors. These tumors would grow until they overtook the minds of the creatures and made them a weapon for their creator. These cybernetic Frankensteins were so well made that they would even go on to quote-unquote live far beyond the point of their organic flesh rotting away, so long as the technological part of them still functioned, so they still did continue to live on. Sith sorcery granted terrible power, but at an equally terrible cost to the user. Long-living practitioners would age much faster, all the dark side energies would warp their appearance and make them look haggard, much like Darth Sidious after he was disfigured by his own Force lightning, or rather his true face was revealed. There were quite a few Sith that practiced this, such as Freed Nad and Exar Kun, though this sorcery wasn't limited to the Sith, as the Night Sisters of Dathomir are regular practitioners. Number 4, Deadly Sight. Force lightning is manifested by pouring all of your hate against the target into physical form, creating bolts of electricity to torture your victim to death. But what if I told you that there was a way to go beyond this? A force ability so powerful and deadly that you don't even have to lift a single hand. What if I told you there was a way to literally hate someone to death? Some Sith were born with a special ability known as Deadly Sight. By focusing all of their rage and hate in a controlled wave, some Sith were able to hurt and even kill victims just by looking at them. Their intense glare caused blisters on the skin to the point of disintegration so long as their target remained within sight. Though this ability is not as broken as it sounds, it was immensely taxing on one's force reserves and therefore not practical for combat. One of the most well-known users of Deadly Sight is Darth Bane, though his version was able to go far beyond, as he once killed someone merely by thinking about them. When Bane was a child, he was relentlessly abused by his drunk of a father, who would regularly beat him and blame him for their poverty. One night, Bane lied awake in his bed, repeatedly thinking to himself, "I hope you die." As he did, he imagined a hand tightly squeezing and eventually crushing his father's heart. The next morning, Darth Bane was granted his wish, as his father was found dead in his bed, the cause of death being some sort of a heart attack. We don't see Darth Bane use this power again, but it is a testament to Bane's raw power, as he accomplished this when he was a very young man, not to mention being completely untrained in any ways of the Force at all. Number 3, Life Drain. Regular visitors of the Star Wars EU will recognize this power as it is a staple of the Lord of Hunger, Darth Nihilus. We know very little about who Nihilus was, though it is hardly important. At the end of the Mandalorian Wars, Revan orchestrated a plan and had lured the Mandalorians to the planet known as Malachor 5. It is there that he activated the Mass Shadow Generator, a super weapon that was capable of gravely damaging or destroying any ships or space stations in the orbit above the target world. But doing this would also annihilate virtually everything upon the planet's surface. The devastation to the planet was catastrophic, as the Mass Shadow Generator caused Malachor 5 to fracture to its very core. The planet became a desolate wasteland, a graveyard of countless Jedi and Mandalorian lives alike. When great atrocities happen like this, it creates a wound in the Force. Wounds in the Force will usually fix themselves in time. However, this time, the wound was in a person. This person became the Sith Lord known as Darth Nihilus. Nihilus was a walking wound in the Force with an insatiable hunger for life energy. His hunger consumed his physical body over time, leaving him to tether his spirit to his mask and his robes. Nihilus used the ability of Life Drain to suck out the Force energy in living things to feed his endless hunger. Unfortunately, every time he fed, his hunger would only grow. He started small with people, then he went on for Jedi, and then groups of Jedi, escalating until the point to where he required to feed on entire planets to satiate his hunger, if only for a few brief moments. Moving on, we have number 2, Force Phantom. Darth Vectivus, the Sith Lord that did no evil. Vectivus was a happy owner of a successful mining business, simply following the philosophies of the Sith but never killing anyone directly, or even having any interest in killing anyone, simply following the doctrine of the Sith and their pursuit of power. However, he pursued power through non-violent means. When his business, however, began to mine too deep, they hit a reservoir of dark side energy which began to negatively affect his employees. He halted the mining operation and went down there to see for himself due to his own Force sensitivity. He experimented and studied the anomaly before developing a Force technique that allowed him to summon phantoms to do his bidding. Based on the extreme presence of dark side energy, Vectivus eventually sought out the Sith and participated in the rule of 2, eventually training his own apprentice. Though due to his own code of ethics that he followed, he never gave in to the allure of power and was satisfied with his life at the end of his days. Vectivus eventually died of natural causes, surrounded by friends and family. In his life, Darth Vectivus had perfected the ability of Force Phantom, an ability that required considerable mental reserve and strength of will. Force Phantoms manifested in the physical realm and served whatever inclinations that their creator desired. This was done by performing a very complex ritual, one that Darth Vectivus had pioneered personally, a ritual that was as taxing as it was risky. Should anything go wrong during the process, or should the will of the Sith not be strong enough, the malevolent spirits that were summoned would overtake and destroy them from the inside out. And finally, we have number 1, known as Essence Transfer. In Legends timeline, the founder of this ability was the immortal God King Prakith, Darth Endedu. This Sith Lord was so foul that he was wiped from all historical records by the Jedi Council. Darth Endedu had lived for hundreds of years by performing this ritual that would see his spirit lifted and carried into another vessel. By taking a new body every 100 years or so, he was able to keep rule over his cult of Darksiders of Prakith. However, Endedu's paranoia would be his demise, as he locked himself in his library and died with all of his knowledge only kept to himself. His holocron, however, was later discovered by Darth Bane, who was looking for a way to extend his own natural life. Darth Bane would use this knowledge to possess the body of his apprentice, Zana, when he began to believe that she didn't have what it took to be the next Dark Lady of the Sith. Later, this knowledge fell into the hands of Darth Sidious himself, who would use the knowledge to survive the Death Star destruction and return in a younger body, to once again take over the galaxy and conquer it even further. Palpatine, of course, though, was defeated by Grandmaster Luke Skywalker in the end. This all happened in Legends, of course, and although they did not give a definitive explanation in The Rise of Skywalker as to how Sidious had survived the Death Star destruction, we can infer that maybe it had to do with essence transfer or something familiar to it. We believe this is by far one of the strangest powers of the Sith. Being able to lift your own spirit out of your body and continue your life in another is both strange as well as unnerving, and was likely pioneered by Darth Endedu in canon as well. The ancient Sith were powerful and horrific people. willing to go to lengths in the Force that we rarely get to see on screen? And what other dark side powers and rituals would you like to see videos made on later? Would you like to see any of these powers and abilities that we listed here on the big screen? We highly value your thoughts and are eager to see what you comment. And remember, if you or someone you know would be interested in hearing more about Force abilities and Star Wars in general, consider subscribing. It is your destiny. Now, may the Force be with you and have a great day.